One of the strangest bits of Golden Demon painting advice that we hear is, make it more Warhammery. Which is like saying to someone, can you make this song more musical, please? And everyone nods, oh, yes, yeah, oh, yeah, for sure, yeah, Warhammery. And then wanders off like, no further questions, Your Honour. But I think we'd all agree that everybody also sort of knows what you mean, which is weird. GD isn't a generic painting competition, we know this. It's a competition for a specific universe and brand. There is lore, there is box art, there are reasonably well-defined rules about who factions are and what they stand for, and there's a substantial timeline for most of their game universes, which is expanding all the time. We can confidently say Warhammer is not running the International Technical Blending Championships. They absolutely consider readability, technical ability, intentionality and refinement as part of their judging rubric, and we can see evidence of this since the competition started. But ultimately, they're celebrating worlds, they're celebrating their IP. And if you've ever heard someone say, oh, amazing painting, but it doesn't necessarily feel Warhammery enough, you already know this invisible rule exists. So what is Warhammer? Well, you could break it into dimensions. It's not rigid rules necessarily, it's more like sliders on a mixer. You've got a few common themes. So let's run through them. First up, exaggeration, right? We know Warhammer almost never does subtle, especially in 40k. Huge pauldrons, ridiculous swords, cathedrals attached to tanks, skulls attached to skulls. Realism isn't necessarily the point, right? Scale and bombast and excess are very much in vogue. And then you've got narrative clarity. You usually understand a Warhammer character immediately, right? You see a religious fanatic, a brutal orc mechanic, a decaying plague warrior, an ancient elf warrior. Silhouette and design communicate instantly, and so Warhammer often behaves more like visual mythology than realism. And then we've got commitment. And I think this one might secretly be quite a big one, right? Because Warhammer's always had this strange ability to take ridiculous ideas completely seriously. Mostly. Space cathedrals, football played by orcs, skeleton armies led by immortal kings, tiny goblins bouncing around on giant teeth with legs. None of this should work. And on paper, some of it sounds genuinely stupid, and yet somehow it does work because Warhammer commits entirely. There's rarely any wink to the audience, there's no proclamations of isn't this silly, no nervous apology for any of the weird bits. It mostly just plays everything completely straight, and I think that matters because Warhammer worlds often feel less like realism and more like mythology. Things become bigger and more symbolic and more dramatic and more exaggerated and more extreme, and Warhammer rarely asks would this actually exist? It usually asks things like would this be cool? And once the answer is yes, somebody writes 8 novels, a codex, 3 campaign books, and now apparently this is civilization defining canon. And I think this has practical implications too, right? Because sometimes people accidentally pull too hard towards realism. You can create a hyper-realistic military sniper with practical gear and sensible camouflage, and it may look incredible, but it starts drifting towards generic military science fiction or even realism. Meanwhile, a 6-foot-tall battle nun carrying a church organ missile launcher somehow feels immediately undeniably Warhammer, not because it's realistic, but because it commits to the bit. And maybe that's one of the invisible rules. Warhammer often cares more about emotional truth than literal truth. Then you've got texture and history, right? Warhammer worlds feel old, lived in, layered. There's purity seals, there's parchment, there's battle damage, there's grime, there are trophies, there are ritual objects. And lots of these things feel inherited rather than manufactured right away. Like this world existed before your character showed up. And then you've got iconography. And this might be the easiest practical takeaway. Skulls, faction symbols, Gothic arches, religious imagery, chains, relics, certainly all of those in the 40k universe, and you can almost remove the paint job entirely and still identify the universe that it's come from. But I think this is where things start getting interesting, right? Because if any of this is actually useful, it has to survive contact with one of your real projects. So maybe we need a few tests, not rules, but some vague, wavy hand suggestions, so I don't commit too hard to anything and get the angsty comment brigade biting my fucking hands off. Let's call this the silhouette test, right? If I completely blacked out your miniature, could I still recognise what it is? Space Marines, huge shoulders, hero proportions, chunky armour. Orcs get the hunched over posture, crude armour panels, heavy upper bodies, that kind of thing. Eldar or elves, long and elegant, flowing capes, an element of cleanliness. Tyranids, organic blades, aggressive shapes, carapace armour and claws. Warhammer relies heavily on silhouettes. So you should often recognise things before the details even start to exist. And I think people accidentally break this all the time with conversions. You combine lots of individually cool parts and you create something that no longer visually speaks Warhammer. We could also have a remove one thing test, right? Take your idea and take one of the components away. What actually breaks? If you take a Roman soldier and you add skulls, it's still a Roman soldier. Now if you take a Space Marine and remove purity seals, still a Space Marine. Remove chapter iconography, still a Space Marine. Remove shoulder proportions, remove a backpack, fundamentally alter the silhouette. Now things are starting to wobble. Some of these elements are a core identity, some are just garnish, and I think people sometimes spend 6 months painting garnish. Then we've got the, let's call it the other IP test. And this one might hurt a bit. Ask yourself, could this exist somewhere else? AKA, not a Warhammer universe. Could your Inquisitor also be a Diablo character? Could it be generic dark fantasy? Could it be a Dungeons and Dragons character? Could it be plucked from some random sci-fi universe? Because if so, maybe you've drifted. Not because crossover is bad, or that there's not room for this, but because Golden Demon seems to reward specificity. And this might explain why some technically brilliant entries can feel a little bit strange, because they stop looking like Warhammer and start looking like fan art for a universe that doesn't necessarily exist in that competition. And then there's another one, faction truth, because factions have got this internal logic, right? An Ultramarine and a Night Lord can both be blue, but they should not feel remotely similar. One says order, discipline, and structure and nobility, and the other one says terror, cruelty, fear, and psychological warfare. So if your Night Lord feels noble, or your Orc feels elegant, or your Death Guard feels too clean, you might have painted it beautifully, but conceptually, you've potentially started arguing with the source material. However, within all this, there's still a trap. Because once people watch this or hear this, they'll overcorrect, right? We'll get more skulls, bigger swords, more weathering, more candles. And eventually the model becomes this strange sort of like Warhammer flavoured soup. Because the point isn't necessarily density, it's recognisability. Is that even a word? If I glue 30 purity seals and a couple of skulls to a Honda Civic, I haven't made a Space Marine Rhino. Not even close. So maybe Warhammery isn't really a rule, maybe it's a question. If I covered the logo, if I removed the title card, if I hid the nameplate, would people still immediately say, oh yeah, that's definitely Warhammer? Not because of a skull or because of candles, but because every decision points in the same direction. Maybe Warhammeryness is just visual coherence, 100 tiny decisions all pointing in one way. Now, obviously that's still a horrifically vague interpretation, and obviously there are exceptions. Somebody's already opening the Golden Demon Compendium, preparing a counter-argument as we speak, but maybe we got a few steps closer together, right? How would you define Warhammer? What would you do to make your piece feel more Warhammery? Or maybe the more uncomfortable question is, what would you remove? Let me know. And if this was useful, please like and subscribe so I can continue to upload half-baked ideas for collective consideration. And until next time, go and finish something.